All right.
Oh, they did this for me. I'd like to call the regular city council meeting for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. First item up is to have our clerk swear in our new council members, Paul Theisen and Tami Klimpel. It's not Klimpel, is it?
I, Paul Tyson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties as a member of the City Council of the City of Rosemont, in the County of Dakota, in the state of Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God.
I, Tami Klimpel, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Minnesota, and of the state of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of a member of the City Council of the City Council for the City of Rosemont in the County of Dakota, and the state of Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Welcome to our two new council members. So with that, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll move the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for approval of the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. First item up is presentations, proclamations, and acknowledgments, which I understand we have none this evening. We'll move on to public comment. Item number 4, anyone wishing to come before council and address us, now is the time to do so. We ask that you please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Jackie Young. I live on Bengal Avenue in Rosemount. I'm speaking to consent agenda item M, street improvements. I would like the council to know that I feel the feasibility report is very thorough. My wish is that more of this information would have been shared with residents earlier. Residents only saw this past report this past week. There was an information meeting in November of 2021, and from that time until this past January, not much information was shared with residents. With all that time, I had hoped the city would pursue maybe grants or resources to offset the high cost of the street assessment for homeowners. I also want to insist that the city keep its word on allowing homeowners with newer systems to have the full 10 years to hook up. It was stated in a letter that was sent to us in October of 2019. Finally, I want the council to know that residents have mixed views on these improvements. While some are accepting of it, there are many who are also not in favor. Many of us enjoy our more rural neighborhood, And we invite the council members to take a drive through our neighborhood before the public hearing next month. Thank you, council, for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a statement? Comment to address the council?
Well, congratulations, new members, new mayor. It's been a long time since I've been here, the early 20s. My name is Reed Hansen. I'm an attorney in town. I represent Ted McMenemy. He is he owns the northernmost parcel on Bacardi Avenue. These last few years, I have attended with Ted a couple neighborhood information meetings, which all too often don't have enough information. We were, as the prior speaker, we were glad to receive a feasibility report and talk about it. I think it's important, and I understand that the work session has postponed. I don't know if all of you have looked at it and had discussions yet, but I think it's very important, as she noted, $17,000 assessment, the cost of hooking up to water to your house, and the cost of hooking up sewer and abandoning your well and your septic system are major expenditures for most of those people. My client is in a little different position, and as you look at that, he owns 18 acres, very north on the east side of Bacardi. It's 18 plus acres. He farms about 2/3 of it. Everything to the north of his parcel, he's zoned agricultural. Everything to the north is zoned agricultural. And I think on the long-term comp guide plan, a good part of it is rural residential, and it's hard to distinguish the yellow colors. There might be some low-density residential. The comp guide plan, I think in its 10 guiding principles, kind of acknowledges the importance of protecting the rural residential areas and agriculture. And this project, insofar as extending the road up Bacardi, at least as it comes to his parcel, it flies right in the face of those admonitions or guiding principles in the comp guide plan. When you look at the costs associated with the Bacardi Avenue improvements, they're huge. There's $792,000 from core funds of Rosemount and $1,017,000 with the surface costs. This extends sewer and water and the road to 2 properties on the east and maybe 1 on the west. Those costs are exorbitant, and you may need for the sewer and water and storm sewer system to at least move up Bacardi Avenue to 128th Street, which is 320 feet. The feasibility report says they're improving 800 feet. So the next 500 feet is principally to bring sewer and water to Ted McMenemy, who doesn't want it, and a paved road to Ted McMenemy, who doesn't want it, and a trail, and it all goes nowhere. Everything is agricultural above, and it's premature. And we urge you to look at that closely and look forward to, I guess, appearing again in a month. Thanks for your time.
Is there anyone else wishing to come before council?
Hi, I'm Alban Ellen, and I live on 15606 Danville Avenue West in Rosebud, obviously. Okay, so I just wanted to say I am very happy with the new city council members, and I want the best, and I want to make sure that our city stays very like hometown kind of little town, but yet we are part of a big city. And I would also appreciate the engagement, like you guys were talking during your session. I'm a big fan of having engagement and doing fun stuff for kids. And teenagers, please include teenagers. That would be great. But I just wanted to say congratulations on the new team, and I really appreciate it, and trust me, I'll be around. So, thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to come before council? Any comments? Appreciations, we certainly take those, yes. Going once? Twice? Seeing none others, that'll complete public comment, item number 4. Item number 5, response to public comment. Just as generally standard, the issues that come before us, we don't necessarily respond to directly. I would ask our Public Works Director just to maybe discuss the upcoming, I know this is a little unconventional, but just kind of the process going forward here. Tonight, the consent agenda talks about a feasibility study, but then what should residents expect going forward?
Right, Mayor, thank you. Yeah, this is just a touch point here in the process that we have to follow in order to bring a project before the council for its final consideration and later on ordering work and so forth. So the council's receiving the report tonight that outlines the project scope that's being proposed by staff, along with costs and funding sources, timelines, et cetera. Receiving that tonight puts us on a path to hold a public hearing to consider those things, where the residents and anyone else who might attend that upcoming meeting would have another opportunity to voice concerns and opinions, et cetera. And then the council would take that into consideration and provide staff final direction on what to go forward with in terms of the project scope, to direct staff to prepare the final plans and get them ready to put out for bids. And then we would go through a bidding process on whatever the council lands on for that final scope. So long story short, there's other opportunities here in the near future to talk about this. We certainly will have additional conversations with council on some of these elements as we go as well. And it has some procedural steps yet to be done before we're officially doing a project.
Where would be the best location for residents to keep in touch with what those process steps, communications are?
Well, I know it was mentioned by one of the residents here that they had seen the feasibility report. There's certainly a ton of information contained in there, and there's a schedule provided in that of all the milestones that we have to go, that we have done and that we will go through. That information is also on the city website, as well as contained in the staff memo that accompanied the feasibility report itself. So it's pretty comprehensive in laying out where we are and where we're going.
And will they receive additional communication directly?
That's correct, yes. We'll have a follow-up open house meeting after the bids are received, I believe. Is that correct, Brian? Yep. So that is on a path to happen at some point in May right now. We have a date is to be determined yet, but that is what we've outlined at this point.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
More to come. All right, with that, that completes item number 5. We'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda. Are there any items that wish to be pulled?
E.
Number E,
D.
D. Anything else? All right, the consent agenda, before I ask for the motion, consists of the following: a bills listing, our minutes for our January 17th regular and special work sessions, D, which was pulled, appointing directors for the Dakota County, or the, actually it's called Dakota 911 Center now. E is pulled, it's an application to conduct off-site gambling by the Irish Football Boosters. F, the Community Center Armory Maintenance Agreement, a donation acceptance by the Police Department by an anonymous donor, on sale license on a public premises, I believe that is for
The Clover.
the Clover. Donation acceptance by Cardio Equipment for Police and Fire, Police Department and Public Works Campus Reimbursement Resolution. Request by Alliant Engineering for a correction of the Amberfield Second Edition plat. The Bon Air Path East Project, City Project 2018-03, final acceptance and authorization of final payment. And M, receiving the feasibility report and call for improvement hearing for the 2023 Neighborhood Infrastructure Improvement Project, City Project 2023-04, which those that are listening in had heard from a couple of residents. Again, this is just accepting the feasibility report, and as you heard from our Director of Public Works, there will be further opportunities to respond to that. So with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with items D and E removed?
I will so move.
Is there a second?
A second.
Roll, consent agenda 6A through 6M with 6D and E removed for further discussion. Roll, please.
Essler.
Aye.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Weisensell.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Fresky.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. We'll call up 6D, appoint directors, Dakota Communication 911.
Yep, I'll grab this. I brought this one up because with the addition of our 2 new council members, I've proudly and happily served as the alternate on the Dakota 911 Board of Directors behind Mayor Weisensell for the past 4 years. Certainly want to give another council member the opportunity to serve as an alternate. I just moved into the MVTA primary board position. So I guess, I don't know how you want to handle that in terms of, if you want me to nominate somebody to
Make the
take
motion
that?
with a revised.
Yeah, I think if you just
alternate.
correct, so I think we had discussed that Councilmember Tyson would serve as the alternate to Dakota 911, and then just a back of house piece for us that we do not need to include in this, but then Councilmember Klimpel will be your alternate then on MVTA, so we can reflect that in the minutes. But your motion here, if you wouldn't mind, would
Okay.
change your name with Mr. Tyson's.
Okay. So with that, I'd make a motion that we appoint Mayor Weisensell as director and Councilmember Tyson as alternate to the Dakota 911 Center Board of Directors.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and second for the recommended action with the adjustment to Councilmember Paul Tyson as alternate. Roll, please.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Weisensell.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Fresky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6E.
Thank you, Mayor. I pulled this for both communication and recognition. I'm the council liaison to the Leprechaun Days Committee, and we're super grateful that the Irish Football Boosters are going to partner with us again for our annual or halfway to Leprechaun Days event. As many of you might know, Leprechaun Days is a nonprofit organization, so we rely heavily on sponsors and fundraising to put on our 10-day event. So this big bingo event, we actually just launched the communications. You can go to our Facebook site or to leprechaundays.org and register, but it's at the Banquet Hall at Rosemont Community Center on Friday, March 17th. We encourage you all to come, and then all earnings go back to Leprechaun Days to help us put on that big event. So with that said, thank you to the boosters, again, for being our partner. Any questions?
Move the recommended action.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution approving an application to conduct off-site gambling for Irish football boosters.
Second.
Motion been made and second to move the recommended action. Roll, please.
Weisensell.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Fresky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Motion 6E is approved. That completes our consent agenda and the items pulled. We'll move on to public hearing. Item number 7A, if I can get to that close enough, is that Ms. Fosbender?
Liquor license.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Before you tonight, we have Las Tortillas Mexican Restaurant, what is located at 15051 Crestone Avenue, has submitted an application to amend their current on-sale liquor license and special license for Sunday liquor. The specific request is to expand the current permitted area to an adjacent private space at 15059 Crestone Avenue. This event space was going to be solely for catering, and they're expecting that it will seat approximately 40 people. This license specifically is contingent upon receiving a certificate of occupancy from our building official. Once the certificate has been issued, what we do as staff then is we then notify the Commissioner of Public Safety of the changes in their license, and then their license will be effective from that point there. A notice of a hearing for this evening was published 10 days in advance in the official paper, setting forth a date and time. To this point in time, no comments have been received from the public to date. So before you tonight, there's two requests, and first would be to open the public hearing, and then second, pending any comments from the public or city council, would be to take action on adopting this resolution, approving an amendment to the on-sale liquor license and special Sunday liquor license for Las Tortillas Mexican Restaurant. If you have any questions, I will stand for those.
Open it up to council. Any questions, comments?
No.
None here.
With that, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter can come before council, state your name and address, and any of your comments. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? I'll move to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The hearing's closed. We'll move to council. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion to move the recommended action.
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution.
I will second.
We have a motion and second to adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the on-sale liquor license and special Sunday liquor license at Las Tortillas Mexican Restaurant. Roll, please.
Tyson?
Aye.
Breske?
Aye.
Essler?
Aye.
Klimpel?
Aye.
Weisensel?
Aye. Item 7A is approved. Move on to 8A. This is the authorization of legislative priorities for the city. Let's see if I can get to that. Is that Mr. Martin, please?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Pleased to be in front of you tonight with the city's annual or biannual legislative priorities. And so just for public's recognition, this is an annual process that the city council and staff go through by which we kind of establish the city's legislative platform for the year. And so the list that's attached inside the city council packet and then I'll briefly discuss tonight is by no means the only priorities that we have and doesn't even directly often be mentioned on our city council's strategic plan or goals, but more so these are priorities that our legislative partners, both at the state, county, federal, school, district levels can partner and assist us with. And so this really gives, whether it's myself and the mayor or members of the council, as they are at events with our electeds, the other electeds, state and federal partners, a talking points list that we can provide to them, we can show them, and conveys to the residents really what our legislative priorities and platform might be. And so I'll talk through those quickly. The city council has talked about this at a couple different work sessions. So none of this is per se new to the city council, but we'll certainly respond to any questions on the tail end here. So one of the pieces that we talk about as we open the document is we are a member organization of a lot of municipal partners and governmental partners. So you've heard us talk about the League of Minnesota Cities, a group called Metro Cities, which is a lobbying organization lobbying on the behalf of metropolitan cities. We've recently joined a group called the Municipal Legislative Commission, which is a smaller cohort of fast-growing cities over 25,000 in population that have a shared priority base and a shared platform. And then NLC, the National League of Cities, is a federal lobbying agency that works on behalf of the city on federally connected issues that address municipalities kind of in a broad brush, but certainly not just Rosemount. We don't mention their platforms here. We're members of those groups, and so we adopt their platforms basically by proxy or by being a part of the group. The more Minnesota-based ones, we do have some carryover, but then there's still large-scale issues that would live on their platforms that we don't discuss here. So mostly what I'm about to talk about is more Rosemount-centric priorities, but really crucial stuff for us as we talk with our legislative partners, both at the state and the federal level. So first one here talks about a long-term plan that we've been discussing with the county and the state of Minnesota for a bit, which purports to separate County Road 42 and Highway 3 to allow no further conflict with the railroad at Highway 3 and 42. And so this crossing is one of the busiest railroad crossings in the metro area. And so we would like to begin the engineering work and have agreement from our partners at the county and state to start an engineering plan that would show how likely Highway 42 would end up going over the top of Highway 3 to avoid an intersection and a conflict with the railroad. So asking to ensure that we get that engineering work started with our partners, which then also sets us up to pursue federal funding for this work, which has been readily increased in recent months through some legislative federal actions. Second bullet is of high importance that we have on here for the last couple of years, which is the roundabout at Highway 3 in Rosemount High School. This is a funded project. We just want to continue to ensure that our state partners stick to the plan and to the schedule, which would show that this is likely a 2024 project with the potential that it would slide to 25, but we're going to do everything we can to push to 2024. So that is the purpose behind that bullet. Third bullet, we continue to be working towards and completing the transfer of the National Guard land to the city of Rosemount to support the Police and Public Works campus on Biscayne Avenue. So we've had some fits and starts with this work at the legislature and are under the impression as of a couple of days ago that it should likely receive federal state approval with Representative Hewitt and Senator Aaron May Quaid here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get that one crossed off the list hopefully very quickly because we're getting close to our potential break ground date on that campus project. Senator May Quaid and Representative Hewitt have been working on a bonding request that would potentially support the Public Works and Police campus in some capacity. This project has seen some cost overruns that have been reflective of the pandemic and really historic supply chain and inflation related issues to the tune of potentially as much as $15 or even more million. So Senator May Quaid and Representative Hewitt are going to enter into a bonding request for that project to maybe give us some relief for the cost overruns or not overruns, the cost changes that project has seen. So hopeful that could live in a final bonding request, but that's admittedly a tall task, and those things ebb and flow as political deals down in St. Paul get made. So we will track that one as much as we possibly can with our two representatives. From an economic development and transportation standpoint, the completed Cloverleaf interchange at 52 and 42 are crucial projects, both from a traffic safety standpoint, but then also for an economic development standpoint that would set those intersections up for more of a highway-based retail or commercial usage in that area. So we continue to push our county and state partners to consider completing the full interchange at 52 and 42. A general bullet here is the next one, just that we continue to work towards improving and monitoring and really focusing on the transportation network inside of Rosemount. So this is as granular as small-scale area studies about traffic, as development comes in, to as large as MnDOT doing a study of the entire Highway 3 corridor from 46 to 494, which is underway soon. So we just continue to push and ask that the traffic network within Rosemount gets some diligent review from our partners who have an impact on that. A bit longer term, as we look towards likely next legislative session, would be a funding request for the city's first water treatment plant. So we continue to pursue design and engineering of that project. As that gets completed, we would work with our state partners to request funding both from a federal standpoint, which does now exist to support water treatment efforts, but then also from the state as well. Those are projects that have been told and have tracked that often do get some state funding, and so we're hopeful that we could get some state funding for a water treatment plant. And then a broad one here as well, we continue to focus on any ways that we can to expand our broadband infrastructure network. This one's been on the list for a few years now, just again, the focus and the knowledge that, COVID work from home really exposed any potential gaps in the broadband system and network in the city. So whatever we can do to partner either with private providers and the state of Minnesota to build out neighborhoods that potentially don't have broadband yet is a legislative focus. And then lastly is kind of a bit of a more focused one on we continue to work towards the state licensing of massage therapists, and that's kind of a bit of an unregulated practice still, and so we keep that one on there as more of a statewide support, but just to work towards that as well. So that's the initial glimpse here, Mayor and Council, of the legislative priorities that we've been discussing. You know, like I said, not all encompassing, not inclusive even of our strategic plan in many cases, but hopefully a good list, and would be happy to respond to any questions that you might have.
Opening up to council. Any questions or comments? Anyone? No. All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to pursue the recommended action?
I'll move to pursue the recommended action.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the city's 2023-2024 legislative priorities and direct staff to pursue efforts with appropriate parties in support of the priorities. Roll, please.
Brusky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
That completes item 8A as approved. We'll move on to item 9A, something a little more fun. Playground proposals. Mr. Schultz.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. This evening before you, we have a request for the purchase of 2 playground systems. The city's long-term maintenance capital improvement plan includes funding for the replacement of playgrounds at Biscayne and Claret parks. And if you're familiar with our long-term maintenance plan, we have a variety of different items that are in that plan annually. We don't always bring those to the city council because of where they fall within our purchasing policy, but we feel like bringing these playgrounds forward is something kind of like you know, we want to share this with the public. You know, so many people connect with playgrounds in their neighborhoods, or they go to other neighborhoods because they like the playground so much. And so we want to bring these forward and talk to you a little bit about them. The existing playground equipment at both parks was installed in 1999, and we are tentatively scheduling to take that equipment out in the spring of 2023. If the new equipment is approved, we would install the new equipment soon after the anticipated removals. And so what we do is we work with a couple different entities to get the playgrounds removed, and then what we like to have is, you know, as soon as they're removing those playgrounds, we like to have the new stuff on site ready to go so there's not a big gap. What we don't want to do is pull out the equipment in April and have it sit until September and no one uses it all summer. That's one of the things I will say about the equipment that we are recommending purchasing, is that this is some of the quickest turnaround times we've seen. Right now, it's 5 to 6 weeks on getting this, so we're way out in front of the game on this equipment. Some of the equipment that is in the packet, we've been told we would not see until September or October. And so obviously that made, you know, that has a little bit of an influence on staff. The residents and the Youth Commission and the Parks Commission did not know that while reviewing these proposals. It just happened to be, that's what they chose. So a little bit of background on how we end up getting to having all these playground proposals. We write what is called a request for proposal, and we send that out to all the local playground vendors in the Twin Cities, and there's between 6 and 8 of them any given year. What we do is we tell them how much they can spend. They all get the same amount, and then they just give us the best, you know, proposal they can give us for the money. They have to use the same border that's in place. It's a concrete border. Neither of these playgrounds are being expanded as far as the border goes, so they all are working with the same parameters. For Biscayne Park, it was $65,000, and for Claret Park, it was $60,000. So we did the RFP process. We got back all of the information. We held a neighborhood meeting on January 19th for both individually for each neighborhood. We held those at the Steeple Center. I will say that they were lightly attended by the neighbors, but the people do definitely appreciate the opportunity to look at the playgrounds and give input. We then take the information to the Parks and Recreation Commission and have our commission review all the proposals. And when they're looking at the proposals, they're looking at large 24 by 36 inch boards. So it's a little bit better than looking at an 11 by, or a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. They get a little bit better feel for what's included. And then we also take all of the proposals to the Youth Commission. And so we did that on at their meeting on the 25th of January. So we've had quite a bit of a review. Overall, the results were all really the same. People really like the two proposals from St. Croix Recreation, which reps playground equipment called Burke. And they are coming in with the highest rated proposals for both parks. Everyone who was involved in the process really liked the variety. They like how the space was used, and they liked that they included some components that that were considered to be heavy carrying capacity. So it's like, you know, you look at like this, a climber, you know, can hold up to 40 kids versus if they just have just a single person, you know, fire pole, it can only hold one child. And so people really look at that. They were drawn to the proposals that were submitted by St. Croix Recreation. We have used St. Croix Recreation in the past, and we've had pretty good luck with their equipment and their installs. I will comment that we will be going through this process again in a few weeks with Kidder Park. Kidder Park is just trailing a few weeks behind, and I can tell you that St. Croix Recreation did not bid on Kidder Park, so we will be getting a new vendor for playground equipment at Kidder Park when that comes forward in a few weeks. And so that'll again will go to the Youth Commission in February in a neighborhood meeting. We are going to try something a little bit new with the Kidder Park play equipment. We are going to try an online meeting, and then we're also going to offer that in-person opportunity. I know it's probably not the most exciting thing for people to, you know, they're trying to cook dinner and get their kids to wherever they have to go, or it's cold outside and they don't want to bundle up and come to the Steeple Center, so we're going to try to do something online. But with that, I will answer questions. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve the purchase of the playground equipment for Biscayne and Claret Parks from St. Croix Recreation / Burke as proposed in the packet. And I will stand for questions if there are any.
Open up to council. Any questions? Comments? I know I had the opportunity to attend the session, and while it was maybe lightly attended, I thought the comments that we heard from there was pretty good. We also had some comments regarding pickleball courts too, so there was additional comments which we were able to handle. If you want to mention anything on that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, we did have a resident who got our postcard. We sent out about 250 to 300 postcards, direct mailers to all the residents in the area near the parks. And the resident that showed up, a gentleman and his wife, both avid pickleball players, they had some concerns about the pickleball courts, the temporary courts we have at Claret Park, and how on some weekends when a lot of people want to come and play pickleball, they park along Claret Avenue, and it kind of chokes the street a little bit. And they are concerned about that, which is understandable. And so we explained to them that we are in the process of designing a new pickleball complex south of the Umore ball fields on Akron Avenue. They were very happy to hear that. They just, you know, our mention to them was that we would probably phase out pickleball at Claret, and we would like to get people down to the high-end pickleball courts that will be on Akron Avenue. And so we'll put the courts at Claret would go back to being full-time tennis.
And the pickleball courts timing on that?
Well, we're in design right now. We're working with our design team and along with our Public Works Director and engineering staff to get the best plan possible. We're waiting on some information from Dakota County about access off Akron Avenue, trying to be a good partner for what might be a future road. But we're looking at bidding that sometime this spring, and we'd like to get constructing it this year still.
So more to come. So
Yep.
Appreciate council allowing me a little indulgence on the pickleball arena, so to speak. Are there any other questions on the playground equipment? Seeing none, can I have a motion to move the recommended action?
I'll make a motion to purchase playground equipment for the Biscayne and Claret Parks from St. Croix Recreational Burke as proposed in the packet.
Second.
I have a motion and second to move the recommended action on the playground equipment. Roll, please.
Essler,
Aye.
Klimpel,
Aye.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Prusky.
Aye.
Motion approved. 9A is completed. We'll move on to 9B. Project scope and authorize advertisement for bids for public works and police campus project. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to chat through this. Our project team is going to join me, but they're going to maybe they're going to stay in the background for a bit. But the podium is open, gentlemen. But Chief Dahlstrom and Public Works Director and Egger and I are really happy to be here tonight. We're going to repurpose a presentation that the council just saw here at the workshop a little bit, just to give the public a bit more exposure on the Public Works and Police campus that we've been working on for quite some time. And so we'll flip through just a quick overview of some of the more exciting kind of imagery to talk about, and then talk about even some of the financial impacts tonight. Your requested action tonight is only to give staff and the project team of consultants and engineers and architects the ability to go out for bids on the project. You're by no means telling us to build the project. You're also not deciding how much bonds we want to sell, how much our debt needs to look like. We just got done talking about that for a good hour and a half or so with the council, and it's one of our many work sessions we've had about this, and there'll continue to be more, but we thought that this would be a nice chance to continue to get more public eyes on this project. It's a large project. We've been working on it for a year or more with this team, and then this conversation has been percolating since 2017. But we want to continue to try to get focus on this. This is going to be the back page kind of headline story of the newsletter that's about to hit mailboxes. And so, again, any chance we can to talk about this, we're going to kind of expand your recommended action tonight just to talk a bit about the project. And so just to flip through this quickly, it's about 160,000 square foot facility. About 110,000 of that is the Public Works Department. The remainder is the Police Department and community spaces. We've got adequate parking stalls. We've got some really neat sustainability features. So some innovative rainwater reuse systems that would reuse rainwater from the roof to wash the vehicles, which is a nice demonstration project, and also a smart use of a really large roof that's going to grab a lot of rainwater. It's going to have EV plugging stations for both the public and fleet vehicles. And then the rooftop is built for solar. We will not be building solar as we start, but it's prepared for solar. I'm not going to get into this because it's beyond my expertise, but there's native plantings throughout the facility, innovative stormwater design. One of the main focus points that you'll see that we've talked about as we've done neighborhood outreach is that northern buffer. So we've had a lot of engagement with the Townhouse Association to the north. Major focus of the design team has been protect the tree stand to the north, and the northwest is the best tree stand as folks go past the roundabout there on Brazil Avenue near Erickson Park. A lot of mature trees on that northwest corner, and then we will be building a berm and planting trees on top of the berm to not impact the Townhouse Association to the north. This is the facility space. I don't know, gentlemen, if you want to say anything about the facility spaces, or if you want me to keep talking, but any wins that you're excited about for your organization?
Sure. I think from a police department perspective and how we know the city's been expanding, this is a long time need, and it's super exciting for staff. I wanted to highlight a couple things I think this is going to bring to the city of Rosemont as we try to develop a high-performing organization, be competitive in the market. We've experienced recruitment and retention issues nationally in terms of law enforcement. And right now, to give you a perspective, I like to tell people when I applied to be a police officer here, there's 200 people going for one job. Now we're down to 20 people going for 3 jobs, and we're competing against over 100 open employment applications with different cities and departments. So we have to be competitive, and we got to make the place welcoming for staff. So if you ever come on a tour, I know I had the pleasure of taking our newest council member Klimpel, on a tour the other day, and I think it speaks for itself. We're in need of an upgrade, and we're in need of a wellness focus. I read recently in the focus from the League of Minnesota Cities is that some of our wellness claims in terms of PTSD is their single highest source of work comp claims. And so what do we do to work on that day to day? And it's some of the things that I think you'll see highlighted here coming up. But and then training. Where's our liabilities? Where's our weaknesses? And having stuff on site that we can utilize day to day versus, for example, right now we drive to Scott County on days off. If I'm not having employees or officers drive down to Scott County, we can do things while they're on shift. Obviously, that saves not only their time off, but drive time, overtime, things like that. So there's a lot of wins there. And then from overall city operations, I wanted to point out again, the training focus, but the Emergency Operations Center. As we grow and as we have more needs as a city, we have to continue to be prepared. We've got a training room that I think you're going to see here that's going to dual as a Emergency Operations Center, but we're going to be able to host community meetings in that space, regional trainings, and then also if we ever see ourselves in the face of an emergency operations need or to open an EOC, we have a space that's adequate to do so. And I think that's important for us to always be prepared in that realm. And I just want to make sure I didn't have anything else there. And then I think just in general, the staff is super excited. It's been, like I said, it's been a long time coming, but having the resources on site, whether it's the office space, I should probably point out another, you've heard me talk a lot about our new programs, embedded social workers. We've now got a space to actually office them. We have spaces for other community partners such as domestic assault advocates when the state patrol stops in. And as I think we continue to expand into the future, we're going to find more and more of those collaborative types of positions across different pieces of public safety or public need and resources. So it's got space for that. And yeah, I think maybe I'll turn it over to Nick if you got any highlights.
Sure. Thanks, Chief. Really, from my end, from a Public Works operations standpoint, I think the most compelling win for us is to bring everything under one roof. That was a big goal of mine at the onset with this project, as I've seen what we have and what we've been working with for quite some time and kind of cobbled together facilities. And with the city's growth trajectory and all that we've acquired up to this point, we're really squeezed into where we're at. We even rent space at the Umore Park installation out there to store things, and we're going to gain a lot of efficiencies from bringing all of our equipment and operations and staff actually under one roof. And when I say staffing, I mean the engineering department also being housed in the offices of this facility. Engineering and Public Works operations have to work together very, very closely. If you think about it, we have all the infrastructure projects, both the new development-related items and then the reconstruction things. Those teams need to collaborate and be working in close quarters to get the best possible outcomes out in the field. And then that goes the same for maintenance projects as well. Very reliant on each other. And I can speak from personal experience in my previous job that we had a relocation of the two staffs into one roof, and it did under one roof, and it did wonders for that synergy between the different divisions. So that's one of the things I think is a big highlight and a win for us from Public Works standpoint. On the operations side, you'll see we have room to grow into, really. We have a large fleet right now, but we're adding plow routes with huge developments like Amber Fields and some of the other ones that are on the north side of 42. Added equipment is on the horizon here as we try to meet those expectations of the public to provide the same or even better service than we do now. And we're going to need a place to put all that stuff. And so we do have some room to grow into with this facility. From that standpoint, we also have expanded fleet maintenance areas because with each new piece of equipment comes new demands for taking care of those and the repairs and routine kinds of things that the mechanics are doing. And they're pretty pinched where they're at right now, and it's hard to make it all flow properly. Same would go for the shops under which the individual divisions, the parks maintenance and the utilities maintenance, street maintenance crews are housed in. So they'll have a bit more breathing room to work and set up projects and store things so that it's a much more efficient operation day in and day out. So those are just the highlights from my end, and I would echo everything that the chief said about the attraction of good employees, and retention of folks. It goes a long way to have a great facility to work in. I think a place that people are excited to be in and do their jobs day in and day out is going to help us in the long run.
Great, thanks, gentlemen. We'll flip through just, that was the bulk of what we wanted to talk about, but just we'll show some of the neat imagery, because we've got it here tonight, and so how could we stop talking without showing it? But I'm not the designer, and so I'm not going to pretend to know what these materials are, except that they all look really, really nice. This is the front scape that you'll see from Biscayne Avenue. So a nice chance to have a flag center area, a welcoming walkway with the trailway on Biscayne. And this would be the public-facing side where public would park and enter through the main doors. This is from basically St. Joe's Church, or from the northeast looking southwest. So that berm on the north side there would be the upper right of the picture that we're looking to establish. So police, you show screening for the police as they bring folks into both the holding area and their parking garage, and then Public Works and their campus, or their garage, is to the top. One of the neat features there, the bottom I should say, one of the neat features there is those 2 rooftop bump ups. They're going to bring a lot of really nice natural daylight into the facility. And then there's a third one on the south side over the maintenance garage that's just going to make that garage a really well lit natural facility. This is kind of looking back of house as you're on Brazil Avenue. That's the roundabout as you're driving through Erickson Park to orient folks. This is largely got some pretty strong tree structure to block. You'll see the fuel island there on the south side of the building. But the goal here is to kind of put the less attractive stuff on the backside where it's got some tree focus, but then also there'll be some fencing and ability to make sure that the backside of the facility looks nice as well. Just another view looking northwest here from Biscayne Avenue. Coming inside, this is the public entryway, looking down towards that meeting room space, that shared meeting room space, so you can choose where you're going, police on the right, Public Works on the left. This is that shared community room that Nick and the chief talked about. An ability you'll see in the middle there to separate the room in half. So at max capacity, I think it can seat 100, and then we can split it in half. So not only is this the city's emergency operations center if we have a tornado or a major fire event, what have you, but this also is a place where you might be going for a CPR class, or maybe you would vote in this spot someday if we move a precinct here. So public should get a chance to get inside that building and use it in some good ways. Public Works reception lobby, so again, this is where you might come to get your water meter, to talk about your utility bill, show some technology there where we can bring up a map and talk through a project or a question with a resident who might be at the front door, and then a secure way to make sure that employees are all behind the wall. One we wanted to show here is the co-working space for the police patrol. So again, to show that we're being really efficient with space, that they're sharing desks in a kind of a 3-triangle way, but also a really open environment where they can collaborate, large windows where they bring in the natural light, so that officer and employee wellness is really a focus here, and the teamwork and collaboration piece. Right now, their facility is just over 9,000 square feet in the basement here of City Hall. Very few folks have windows, and so most people don't get a chance to get in the police department. Maybe you don't always want a tour of the police department, but they'd love to take you through, and they're a very friendly bunch, of course. But it's a really, really tight facility. So imagine going from 9,000 square feet to 45,000 square feet, what that's going to do for, we literally have officers that, or detectives that have repurposed closets that are their office now, and you can imagine how it's like to sit in a closet. There's certainly no windows or anything of that nature. This is the Public Works break room. The little phrase there is a Public Works kind of speaking line, which is "we make normal happen." So if your life feels normal and the city is operating normally, it means Public Works has done their job. So a cool way to bring in some of those kind of mottos and some placemaking pieces. Same with our city logo and City of Pride, or Spirit of Pride and Progress here in the shared fitness room. This is a fitness room that's very small, as you can see, just a couple of pieces of equipment, but gives all city staff, so folks from City Hall, Park and Rec, et cetera, can go over and badge in and use this workout facility. And so, and as the chief had mentioned, one of the biggest things we focus on not only is mental health, but also physical health. Heart disease is one of the main killers of police officers, and so a focus on mental and physical health is critical. And then our city insurance provider will tell us as well that any increases we can do to employee health, all that does is lower our exposure from an insurance standpoint. So a nice piece there. Won't get too deeply into the next slides here about construction timing, but did want to talk about where Kraus Anderson, who's our construction manager, they have been diligently, repeatedly tracking the market, talking to bidders or expected bidders to get some real numbers about what we expect this building to cost. Right now, the project budget is right around $60 million. We're going to keep it right at $60 million with some add alternates that we will either add or deduct if we can't handle that within the project budget. And that is a large number. There's no doubt about it. I think one of the pieces that we talk about it, first of all, is when we started this project in 2018 and even 2017. I think there's some council documentation about projected tax impacts floating around that talked about this being a $30 million building. And then it became a $45 million building. And as we started this design, it was right in that 45-ish million. The project hasn't gotten any larger, but we're now 2 years later and we're being told it's going to be $60 million. And so that's when you go back to that legislative priorities piece. The scope of the project has not changed, but Kraus Anderson talks to us about there's physical pieces of steel that used to be $200 and the exact same piece is now $500. And so that's exactly why you see this project budget change. But again, I think one of the other ways that you look at it too is we're building 2 municipal facilities in one. Pretty rare to combine a facility. You might see a city hall and police station combined. Pretty neat and innovative. We were just talking at the work session if Kraus Anderson had seen something like this where a public works and police get married up, and might be one of the first ones around, which we're kind of excited about. Bring some economies of scale, some ability to share those conference rooms, sharing hallways and back of house stuff, sharing staff parking. And then also, the ability to have that co-working opportunity also. But I would encourage folks to consider this. Basically, we're going to hone in on these numbers as the bids come in, which is why we're here in front of you tonight, is to go out for bids. But back of napkin right now, the police facility is probably in that $24 million range, and the public works facility is in that $36 million range. And so if you see news stories that says City of X builds police station for $25 million, that's very similar to what's happening here. So just encouraging folks to kind of break apart that $60 million into a 24, maybe a bit less than that, $24 million police station, $35 million or so public works station. And that's, again, just connected to the fact of the square footage is being different. Not that public works is getting anything that's largely different from police. But so 2 historic municipal buildings built at one time is really one of the key components there. Last piece to talk about, I don't have a slide for this. We're continuing to hone in with the City Council a direction on taxpayer impact on this project. And so our financial advisor at Baker Tilly worked with us tonight here for almost an hour about how we're able to structure the bond scenario to really come in line with a tax impact that the City Council believes residents can handle. And so the estimated tax impact is in that $40 to $60 a year type range, I would say, is a fair range, feathered in then over a 4-year period. And so the residents would feel that impact for about 4 years, and then that would be in the tax levy and it'll be done being considered or feeling like an increase. And so, again, more work to be done there, but a large focus being placed on not ripping off the Band-Aid all at once, being smart with the way that we can structure the bonds so we don't have the full impact of the building being felt initially, but also being wise that we pay for it in a interest intelligent manner that doesn't defer all the interest and push the bucket down the road. So much more to come on the tax impact, but just wanted to try to give a bit of a glimpse of where City Council seems to be honing in on that, and it'll all reflect how we do on bid day, of course, as well. So a lot more than the item that's being in front of you tonight, but we just wanted to kind of steal this opportunity to talk to the public a bit more about it. So the project team is happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. To staff, to council, questions? I know we had a good work session on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, first off, this is exciting. It's starting to become real when you start to actually see the pictures and the colors and what it actually is going to look like with people in it. So this is pretty exciting. A couple things you maybe not mentioned is you hit on the benefits of doing this both at the same time. Certainly if you did it one at a time, some might argue this might be overdue. So the fact that we're now doing 2 at once, there's certainly, you mentioned there's some financial efficiencies. If you look at the design, some of the upfront work that has already gone into it, I think there's a whole lot of financial efficiencies there. In terms of, the 2 the two things I think that most of our residents, you know, put a lot of priority on is both public works and public safety. So this certainly hits on two of our residents' hot buttons. Today, you know, public safety is high priority. There's plenty going on there. But public works, you know, what is the sign on the wall? Make normal, what is it?
Make normal happen.
We make normal happen. I think I love that saying, because I think public works, if you don't hear anything about it, then things are going well. Because you will hear about it if things are not going well, especially this time of year. So I just think this is exciting. It's great to see something on paper. So congratulations on getting it this far.
And I think one more thing, Mayor and members of the council, we should mention is that there was a big win on the land here. So we started this process end of 2018, maybe it was 2019. We wrote a proposal to the Executive Director of Military Affairs of the National Guard. And through a process, and we're still just getting it finalized, but we've got a big win in terms of that land being essentially donated to the city. So we worked out a land swap between our partners at Flint Hills Resources. They made an incredible donation on that part, swap land with the National Guard, and we are benefiting as a city at that site. And that site not only, and I don't want to speak to the land value, I know our community development director is here, and I didn't prep him on this, but do we think it's around 2 million? Yeah, around that.
Whatever you say.
It's 20 acres. We've been seeing about $100,000 an acre is a pretty normal number, so call it $2 million.
Yeah, so it's a big win there. And then the location, not only for public works operations, but PD operations. We mentioned the railroad earlier in the legislative priorities, and actually the issues that creates with response times. And so this location is going to be far better than what we currently have. And there's been some other, in terms of when you come out to respond to an emergency, whether it's on the east side of the city or the west side of the city, having the ability to get around a train that might be blocking one of those intersections and do it efficiently versus driving to the far south side of the city or north side. And lastly, because I'd be hoot if I didn't mention it because I think it's a good selling point, some of the little things that go a long ways that we mentioned. We have a lot of mothers working for our department, and when we start to get something into our building like a mother's room or a wellness room where they can do things like pump and provide that need and not have to go into a closet is a really big deal. And I can tell you, I'm not at that point where I have a wife or a mother with me, but I can see that I'm in the building every day, and this is going to be a big win. So.
Is that an advertisement that you? We'll get you his contact number for anybody.
He's redder than red.
Yeah. Other comments or questions from the council? Looking to my left, looking to my right. All righty. Thank you very much.
No.
It's been a long haul to get here, and time for us to move forward. Is there a motion to move the recommended action?
I'll move to adopt a resolution approving the project scope and authorizing the advertisement for bids.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to move forward on the Public Works Police Department campus. Roll, please.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Reski.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Motion approved. That completes item 9B. Move on to item 10A, city staff updates. Allowing you to keep talking, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to keep it brief. You have too much of my voice tonight. I apologize to the broader community. But just wanted to, on behalf of staff, we're really welcome Paul and Tami. Really excited to have you on board. It's been a long process. I think from a staff standpoint, having a council that was a bit in flux for a bit there was just an unknown, and we're really feeling at ease. And we've had them in for probably 6 hours, I think, already of onboarding with myself and staff, and they're just off to a great start. They're drinking from the fire hose, but they're just ready and so willing, and so we're so happy to have you and just want to welcome you. And thanks to the others that stepped up. We had a really tough decision, the council, I should say, had a tough decision to make, and I think they made a great one, but there were really solid people throughout the list of applicants, and so kudos to all of those folks. And maybe just to piggyback on, I had this note down before we just did our chat, but we just gave some kudos, the Public Works Department on the "We Make Normal Happen," which I think is a great phrase, but I just wanted to call it out again. Just how much unsung heroes they really are during the winter months. And they were out last week at 1 in the morning cleaning snow from downtown Rosemount. And so 200 loads or over 200 loads, dump truck loads of snow was removed from downtown Rosemount. So the guys worked from 1 in the morning until their shifts start at 7, and then went and did a normal 8-hour day at 7. And so they did that when all of us were sleeping and none of us were on the roads to, minimize traffic impact and to do it safely. And they just deserve a huge amount of kudos for that. And so if you notice those cleaned up sidewalks along downtown and the snow pile's getting a bit smaller, they didn't get all of it because there's a huge job. But, the fact that it hasn't snowed for a couple of weeks doesn't change the fact that they've been plowing snow, hauling snow to prep for the next snowfall. So a huge kudos to the PW department, and just wanted to thank Nick for his leadership on that. Chuck and Kazi as they lead the crew. It's good stuff. So with that, Mayor, I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you, and I would certainly echo that from council and mayor's perspective. Having normal and not phone calls is really appreciated. With that, that completes item 10A. We'll move on to item 10B, upcoming community calendar. So we have the Environmental and Sustainability Commission meeting on February 14th, 2023, 5:30 to 6:30 here at City Chambers. City offices are closed for the holiday on February 20th, all President's Day, all day. We'll have the Port Authority regular meeting on February 21st, 2023, 6 to 7 here at City Hall Council, and the next City Council regular meeting will be on February 21, 2023, 7 to 8 o'clock here again at City Hall. And I'd just like to give a shout out, thank you residents for those that attended tonight and those that are watching. And like I said, you can come back on the 21st and see us again. So with that, I'll move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.